Welcome everybody back to the Matt Ryan Show. Mr. Ryan Goodson alongside with Matthew Hargrove. We have been gone for a little longer than a week now. The last time we talked, we kind of went over some predictions for the Final Four and the championship game. We were both wrong. We were right on the picks. Florida did win. I gave it to you 6 weeks ago now. I guess it's probably been closer to 2 months. And it came to fruition. And I won a decent amount of money off of it, and I'm proud to say I am not a jinx. However, you are. Mr. Hargrove, how are you doing today as you just left me on your screen? Oh, there you
There
go.
we go. I'm back. The reason why I left is for those of you that don't know this, I'm really bad with charging my phone and keeping it at a good percentage. So last time that we recorded the pod, it actually ran out of battery. So I was just making sure that I was in a good spot. It's good right now. So
It's
midway
good to be
through,
transparent with the folks.
might have to go grab the charger, but it's good right now. But yeah, doing good. Just went to the beach last week, so that's why we were gone for a little bit on a nice bachelor trip to Panama City. Beautiful weather, and it was perfect time because here in Bowling Green, they were getting tornado warnings every single day, and it was just really bad. So it seemed like it was the perfect time to go to Panama City. But yeah, a lot of basketball. Got the chance to watch the Final Four while I was down there too. So it's been a pretty good last week.
Yeah, and obviously Kentucky's been dealing with a lot of floods throughout the state, so it's been pretty harsh weather down here. But you are right. Basketball did continue, and it delivered. We kind of talked about it last week. First time since 2008 that 4 number 1 seeds made it to the Final Four, and you could tell that there were 1 seeds that were playing each other. It was a dogfight on each of those games. The Florida Auburn game kind of goes unnoticed now. Now that we're a week removed almost from those games as of recording. Um, it was just Florida just finds a way. They were down in that game. Auburn looked like the better team that first half, and then the second half, Florida's bigs just end up wearing you down. Janai Broome just was a monster in the first half, but he couldn't do anything in the second. Auburn looked tired towards the end, which is Florida's game plan throughout the year, which is they have enough depth to destroy you down late, and that's what happened.
Yeah, congratulations to the Florida Gators. They were unbelievable this year. Just and like you said, they just always found ways to come back. It didn't matter if they were down 10 or down 5 or down 20. It just seemed like they would, which I don't think they got down 20 at all this year. But they just found ways to come back, and that's what made them so special. Is even in a couple of those games in the tournament, like you said, even in the Final Four, they just found ways to hit that big shot, especially from Clayton. But yeah, the Auburn Florida game was really good. The Duke Houston game, that was probably, in my opinion, the craziest game of the tournament. Just with everything that happened in the final 45 seconds, Duke, I think their win probability was at like 98% at one point in that final minute. And I don't know how you blow that game. It is kind of interesting, Cooper Flag, that somebody I saw a montage of all the games that they lost, and in every single one of them. Now, yes, they won a lot of games this year, but I would say most of the games that they won, they weren't games that came down to the final minute or the final second where they had to hit a game-winning shot. And all their losses this season, it came down to the final shot, and a lot of them ended up with Cooper Flag having the basketball and him not being able to take that final shot. So kind of, or not being able to make it. So kind of interesting. You have the player of the year, all this hype, and he doesn't come out to be clutch, at least in his college career. And unfortunately, I feel like that's going to kind of be something that he's remembered for, is not having those big clutch moments, which is a shame because he still ended up dropping like 25 points in that Final Four game. But yeah, that was an unbelievable game, that Houston Duke game.
It was. everybody always complained this year about it wasn't the March Madness that we're so used to in terms of upsets and Cinderella runs and all this stuff. But that game right there is March. That is 98 win probability, a 98% win probability with like less than a minute left, down seven, and Houston somehow finds a way to win that game. It's just that is the stuff. That you talk about. It was a collapse. Duke hadn't been in that position all year. They've either blown everybody out, or it's kind of like you talked, whether it was the Kentucky game or the Clemson game, coming down to those final shots. In those two specific games, Cooper Flagg either slipped or turned the ball over for those games, and then in this one, he missed the shot. I believe there was one more game where he missed. He actually got to take the shot instead of slipping or turning it over. Yeah, it's it may be a hot take, but even before the season, we said it on here. I said it on here, at least. Is Cooper Flagg great? Yes. Is he the number one pick? Most definitely. Can he be the number one guy on an NBA championship team? I don't think so. And that's not a knock to him. He's a great player. He is a perfect 2 or 3 guy just because he can average 25 and 5, 7 and 7, 20, 10 and 5. It doesn't matter, but I don't think he can be that guy that you can give the ball to with 4 minutes left to go in a game that you really need, and have him go get you a bucket. So,
Did you? So
again,
you didn't think he showed that ability this entire year? Kind of to just.
I think if I'm looking at an NBA prospect, and if he should be the number one pick, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he cannot. Victor Wembanyama is the number one pick that can be that guy. I think Cooper Flagg is I don't want to call him a perfect role player because he's not going to be a role player. He's going to be a perfect star in his role, which is going to be that second option that is great defensively and is reliable on offense. But when you need a 5-minute stretch down the end of the game where you can give the ball to him every single time, he can make a play. But one-on-one, I'm not sure he can go get a bucket in the NBA every single time. So as of right now, obviously things can change, and it's a bold prediction, but I don't think that's his game anyway. I don't think he wants to be the guy that always takes the last shot. But I could be wrong. I don't know.
Well, he spreads the floor really well, and he's a really good passer. I mean,
He's a great passer.
I want to say he was averaging like around 5 assists per season, and in college basketball, that's pretty remarkable. So, yeah, I think it is definitely a bold prediction. I think it's way too early to tell, but definitely he didn't show consistently enough, and I think it did hurt that Duke. They were just so dominant this year that they didn't give him many opportunities where the game would be close with like 3 minutes left, and then we would just see Cooper Flagg go off for like 10 straight points. So, and then the moments where in all those losses for Duke, him not finishing possession, where whether it was him slipping or that shot he got in the Final Four game, that was a good shot. It was a mid-range just inside the free throw line. He had some space, and you're not going to get the perfect shot in that scenario. He got the one-on-one matchup. So I really like the shot that he created. Like you said, he just missed it. So, but I know it's especially. Go ahead.
He'll have plenty of chances. Like he'll get his
Oh
shot in the
yeah.
NBA to I don't know, to reimagine that. Like he will get his revenge on those shots, and kind of make it to where that's not what he's remembered for. I just don't think that. I guess out of all that word vomit, the moral was Cooper Flagg is not going to be a number one player on a championship team in my eyes. Again, I could be completely wrong. I just don't think he has that potential. He's a very good player. He is a. It's hard to describe him because he's not, like I said, he's not a number one that can take you to a championship. Like when you think of those guys, there's only a few in the NBA that can do that. And especially now that a lot of those are older.
Do you think he can be a Jason Tatum?
I was actually going to bring that up, and no, I think he could be a Jaylen Brown to a Jason Tatum, and it doesn't. I'm not saying that his number one has to be as good as Jason Tatum, but I think he can be that guy to where Jaylen Brown last year, we were talking like, oh, well, who kind of took over in that finals? Was it Jaylen Brown or was it Jason Tatum? But even if you were to go to the Celtics game now or last year, who's got the ball in the last 5 minutes? It's mainly Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown will get a few shots here and there, and he'll get his possessions, but it's the ball's in Jason Tatum's hands, which is great. And Cooper Flag is going to be known when he gets to the NBA immediately for his defense and his hard play, and he'll put up good offensive numbers. But I don't think he's at that spot where he can be a number one player on a championship team.
Well, I know Duke fans, obviously they hate the outcome, but it stings a little bit because they were talking about this being maybe the best Duke team ever. So, and for them to now, because a lot of people hate Duke, they're going to say they choked it away, and I think you can definitely make the case that that was a choke job when you're up by, what was it, 7 with 45 seconds left,
I believe so.
and you're having a tough time. The biggest reason why they lost that game is they
Couldn't even
couldn't
have the
bring up the
ball.
basketball,
Yeah.
and that just can't happen, especially for that talented of a team. So, but you hate it for Houston as well because they make that comeback and then their luck runs out, losing a close game. They had the lead against Florida, and
They were up 12 in the
um,
first half.
yeah. So, and that's what we just got done saying it. That's what's special about Florida is they're never out of a game. 12 points to them, they can rally off a 7-8-0 run just like that, and that's what they were able to do.
Well, and if you think about it for Florida, obviously Walter Clayton Jr. in the Elite Eight and the Final Four, he dropped 30 in both of those games. First player to do that since Larry Bird. Everybody thought, if Florida's going to win, it's going to have to be him. He didn't play well that first half at all. They had him in hell that entire first half. They were pretty much guarding him like Steph Curry. Anytime he crosses the ball half court, if he gets a pick and roll, they're trapping him to get the ball out of his hands. Make somebody else beat you on that team is basically what Houston's game plan was, and it worked tremendously in that first half. And in the second half, Todd Golden made some adjustments, and it took a while. It was almost the 12-minute mark, I think, before he really got his first bucket for the game, like his actual first basket that he scored. So the fact that Florida could stick long enough to make it to where by the time he got going, they were still in a striking distance was impressive enough. Will Richard is a big part of that, and Elijah Martin. Those two were unsung heroes in that game, and especially that last possession. Even after Florida goes up, Houston has a chance to go and win it after a missed free throw, and they have, I think it was maybe 20 seconds to go either tie it or win it. Houston was going for the win, but Will Richard, his ball pressure on the outside there, and Elijah Martin, obviously the late contest from Walter Clayton kind of made Emmanuel Sharp do the old pump fake, jump up in the air, try to dribble. But it was just, defensively, it was very impressive for Florida to pull that off at the end.
They're also a really cool team because it's not like they had a ton of, like Duke's got all the All-American freshmen, and I mean, obviously that is one way to go about it to get into the Final Four if you're a team like Duke, but also with Florida, they have some really good transfers that they got,
Yeah,
and
2 years
that
ago.
has to give it has to give a lot of life to these programs going into next season, maybe thinking, hey, if we just find the right guys, we can make a push like Florida. I don't know to that extent, but
Well, here's the
but
difference: is that Will Richard was the first transfer to commit to Todd Golden. Walter Clayton was there he was on Florida last year. Um, Charlie Condon has been there most of his career, I think, if not all. Elijah Martin is the one guy who came from FAU last year, FAU Final Four team. He's like their only real transfer now. Chinny Lube, or I forget how to say his name, the big center who got a technical foul in that championship game. I think he was another transfer, but like some of these guys have been there for 2 years now. So like Walter Clayton coming from Iona as soon as Rick Pitino left, he goes to Florida, and last year he had a good year, but it was nothing compared to what he is now. I mean, first round pick most likely in the NBA draft just because of this year alone. So um, that kind of development in the transfer portal, yes, but also being able to stay for a year and not transferring from school to school like we see some of these guys do now, I think really helps.
Yeah, and I mean it's just the way it is now. So and that's why like that's the I guess because we've been hating on the transfer portal a lot on this podcast. Not hating on it, but there are some, and everybody would agree there's some problems with it. We discussed it heavily last podcast, but there is a good side to it. Is kind of feels like you never, if you're in a situation last year where you had just a ton of freshmen and sophomores and things weren't going well, you can always kind of go into now, NIL and all that stuff is involved. But if you're willing to really go after it, then you can turn it around and end up maybe making a run. But yeah, Florida, what they did, I mean, just an incredible team. I don't know where this team stacks as far as like all time teams. Um, I mean, they were pretty special. I wouldn't consider this like, 20 years from now, if we're looking at the best teams of the 21st century. I don't know if you would throw them in there, but obviously pretty solid. Like teams that come to mind for me is the back-to-back Florida team, the Villanova team with DiVincenzo, the Anthony Davis Kentucky team. Those teams kind of come to mind. I'm not sure if this Florida team
The UConn
is up
teams,
there.
those UConn
Yeah,
teams were
the back to back
dominant.
the back to back UConn teams. I just don't know if like this Florida team is in that
It's
on
weird
that
because the
floor, but
in as far as like Ken Palm ratings, I don't know how much you put stock into that. These four teams were top 10 out of the last 10 years in Ken Palm ratings, which means best defensively and offensively rated teams combined. I think Houston was number one on that out of the four, so they were like the top of that list, or maybe it was Duke. I forget which one, but it was one of the teams that didn't win. But Florida, yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it's just their depth. Like they don't have that guy that you look at and you go, oh, he was on that national championship team. Blah blah blah. Obviously, Walter Clayton was the closer throughout this tournament, and he played his ass off the entire tournament. But you know, they wear people down. I mean, you got four big men that you can rotate in and out. It takes a toll on the other team by the end of the halfway through the second half, and that's kind of how their game plan was throughout the entire tournament, which was eventually they're going to wear out, and we can just keep going. And it worked out for them.
yeah, it's just it went by so fast. Can't believe
It
it's
always
over.
does.
Now
Now
we
on
gotta wait.
now the Masters are happening as we speak. Um, Not that I'm not a gambling man, but if I did, I may have thrown a little bit of money on Will Zalatoris just to feel something on a Thursday
Okay.
morning. Um, don't ask me
I feel
why. I
like
don't
you're.
have any incentive.
I feel like somebody who doesn't bet a ton. That would be an interesting person to bet on. It would seem
And it
like
would
you would
be,
have to be a pretty regular better or pretty regular follower of golf.
which I am neither. And I would say the reason that I put that bet in is one because of the odds. I believe it's 55 to 1 on the odds. $100 wins you $5,500, which is a nice little payday. Did I put $100? Absolutely not. However, just a little sprinkle of a little Will Zalatoris. There's some stats out there that are in his favor that I saw on Twitter, and that makes you want to throw some money on a guy on a Thursday morning right before the Masters start. So that's the only reason behind it. But we'll move on to the NBA. The real reason why we are here on this lovely Thursday afternoon, and that is we'll start with the elephant in the room. The big thing that came out 2 days ago as of recording, and that is the Denver Nuggets have fired Michael Malone, and they have let go of their GM as well. And it's kind of baffling. It was, I believe the exact date was 7 days before the regular season ended and 11 days before the NBA playoffs start. So, a very interesting move to fire the head coach of what was a 3 seed at the time in the Western Conference, which is a dogfight over there. And we'll get into that later. But just kind of want to get your thoughts as a Nuggets fan on the Michael Malone firing this week.
I hated the firing of Michael Malone. And the reason why is because he is the greatest coach in franchise history. I do think that you have to give him some respect there, even though it sounds like there has been some frustration with Michael Malone, especially as the season has gone along. Which I hate this whole situation because this is a franchise that has never had drama. You know, Jokic, Jamal Murray, like there's never really nothing has ever come up with this team as far as like locker room cancers or anything like that. So I just hate that the first time this are you thinking of something that I'm forgetting?
No, I'm waiting for what I'm going to say became the locker room cancer, but it was just a joke. I
Oh,
promise.
I think I might get to it. I might get to it. Well, I just hate that the first time that this team has really had any kind of adversity, because last year they should have made the Western Conference Finals. They had a terrible second half, and the Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards went off in that second half, and it is what it is. But that, in my opinion, that series should have never gotten to 7 games. They were the better team. They just played a red hot Timberwolves team, ran into the Mavericks, and then Luka happened. But I still believe that Nuggets team last year should have made the finals, because I think if they would have played Dallas in the Western Conference Finals, they would have been a better matchup than Minnesota. Now, beating the Celtics, I don't know about that. I think the Celtics would have beat them in the finals. But this is, and like you said, they're still the 3 seed. Now, no denying this team has played, from me watching them, they've looked half-assed this year. Like they're just going through the motions. Jamal Murray when he's been in there. Now, I will say, if you take a look at the stats, everything's on par from when they won a championship. Jamal's stats have not gone down. Aaron Gordon's stats haven't. Now, Aaron Gordon's been hurt this year, so that really is as sucked. And he got to play last night against the Kings. He looks like his older self. Michael Porter Jr. has been great. The big problem with this team is defense. They suck defensively. They're one of the worst teams defensively. Offense is not a problem. Now their bench, Calvin Booth, he great job getting Bruce Brown and KCP. This year, probably one of the worst year that he's had as a GM. The two big signings he had was Russell Westbrook and Dario Saric. And I think this is what you were smiling about. Is there was an article that came out on Bleacher Report, I think it was yesterday, that highlighted key players hating the way that Michael Malone treated Russell Westbrook, saying that Michael Malone treated Russell Westbrook like he would with Jokic and Murray and was kind of lenient with him. And the article also mentioned that Russell Westbrook had some problems on and off the court. Well, I remember when the Lakers got rid of Russell Westbrook, there was, I believe his name is Dave Macna. He's one of the lead reporters for ESPN. But he said that there was a quote basically saying that by Russell Westbrook leaving, there was a vampire that was out of the locker room. So there are some problems with Westbrook. So Calvin Booth takes that chance, brings in Dario Saric, who has played 14 games this season. They don't even, I forget he's on the team sometimes, and then go do a shot of the bench, and I'm like, oh, there's Dario. So that's really tough. But it sounds like too that Michael Malone and Calvin Booth just didn't get along, and instead of keeping one or the other, they just said, "Hey, we're gonna nip this in the bud immediately and just get rid of both."
So then my
Now,
question to you is what the timing? Why not wait till the end of the season?
yeah, so Josh Kroenke, the president of the Nuggets. So listening to him talk, he still very much believes that this team can win a championship, and rightfully so. You have the best player in the world. Anything can happen with Nikola Jokic, and you can get hot with Jamal Murray if he gets healthy. He's still hurt right now. He's been out for 6 straight games. So the reason why it sounds like to me is because he truly believes that the players have not bought into Michael Malone this year so much that he does not see good energy going into the playoffs. Now, it sounds like, too, that there has been a plan in place that unless they win the finals, he was going to fire Michael Malone. But he is convinced that is not going to happen this year with them. So, I understand the respect factor, but what he is saying is he does not care about that. He wants to win a championship, and this is his last heave to get some kind of energy from his team. And that has sparked a lot of tough conversations because you do owe that respect to Michael Malone. And if I was the GM, but thankfully I don't have to make those tough decisions. But what he's hoping is that sparks some energy and kind of shows the players, hey, nobody's safe. And maybe that sparks some decisions for guys like Jamal Murray or Michael Porter Jr. saying to themselves, well, maybe if I don't get going, they're going to trade me because this offseason could get really interesting. We've kind of floated around Michael Porter Jr. getting traded. He was in trade talks going up to the deadline. Jamal Murray had a tough postseason last year. He was just really inconsistent. So maybe there are some thoughts where they're like, hey, we need to trade Jamal Murray and get like a big time star to come in here. So maybe this will light the fire and kind of show the players like, hey, we did this to a coach who's been here for 10 years and won a championship. We can do the same thing to you. Nobody's safe. So maybe that's where the mindset comes in.
I do get that, and I know every coach firing is different. As far as Dwayne Casey got fired the year after he won Coach of the Year. I think there was a crazy stat that said something like, out of the last, maybe it was 25 champions, the only two coaches that remain a coach are Eric Spoelstra. I guess it must have been the last 10 years is Joe Mazzulla and Steve Kerr. So obviously that doesn't count Popovich or Spoelstra, but it's just like the what have you done for me lately is just it's gotten out of hand to the point to where it's like you have to realize you can't win every year. Now everybody can't
Well,
win everybody year.
well, I don't think it's gotten out of hand. Like
He
I
won a
said, I mean,
championship
I,
2
I,
years
I
ago.
love I love Michael Malone. And there was a clip that went viral in a press conference. It was actually 2 weeks ago where he was pretty much calling out his players. And
I saw it.
now Michael Malone is a fiery coach, and it sounds like there were some key players that were getting frustrated with that kind of mentality. And you when you win a championship and you still have a coach that's on your butt and you're making millions of dollars, that can always be a problem. And it's you can't coach NBA players like college kids. There's always been that factor, and that's why people think sometimes when you have a great college coach going into the NBA and it doesn't work out, then you see that it's kind of the same way in the NFL.
Here's
Go
my
ahead.
thing though. Not even a year ago, Steve Kerr was on the hot seat, who just has won 4 championships in the last 10 years. Um, that that should not happen. I don't care if he doesn't make the playoffs the next 3 years. He shouldn't be on the hot seat. Like Greg Popovich is a long term coach. Eric Spoelstra is a long term coach. It doesn't matter what they do. They could miss the playoffs for the next 3 years. It doesn't matter. For some reason, nobody else has that leash. Like it was 2 years ago that Michael Malone won a championship. It it has not been that long, and somehow all because of roster construction, now if a coach gets fired, and I know this is a different situation than some of the other ones, but it just boggles my mind that how quickly we just forget of what happened. As far as like, if I would be willing to put money that when the team of this that the Celtics have right now, when they finally get to the point where they can't pay everybody, and at some point somebody's got to split up, and Joe Mazzulla doesn't win, a championship for 4 years, he'll get fired. And it's like, how does that compute in people's brains of like, you just had the best roster by far in the NBA for 3 straight years? Well, at what point are you going to give the guy be like, hey, you can't win with not the best roster in the league, so you gotta get out of here. It's like, what? He just won a championship.
Yeah, I definitely think Michael Malone is the scapegoat here. And I think the biggest issue, it sounds like to me, the two biggest issues is his inability to find any kind of rhythm when Jokic goes to the bench. That's been a problem for the last 2 years, even when they had KCP on the team. And then
Yeah, but Hargrove, I don't know if you know this, and I'm sure you do. You're a Nuggets fan. The Nuggets don't have another All Star player. They're the
oh,
only team. I know. You're taking up for Michael Malone,
100%.
but this is the GM's fault. You have Nikola Jokic has been the best player in the NBA for the last 5-6 years, and you haven't had an All Star next to him for any of those years. He's drug you to a NBA Finals. Now, Jamal Murray was fantastic in those playoffs, but Nikola Jokic is the reason you were there. 2 of those 3 years in that span, everybody was hurt, and it was just him, which is the only reason you didn't make a deep run in the finals or in the playoffs. Like, at some point, we have to go back to roster construction and go, how is he the only player in the league that doesn't have a star next to him? Steph Curry didn't have a star for 2 seasons, and then now he's got Jimmy Butler. Like, it doesn't take that long to get somebody over there. I don't know what the problem is. I know
Well,
they're a good team without him, but you can't put the blame on a coach for not having the guys when your best player goes to the bench.
and we actually talked about this during the trade deadline, but and somebody put it perfectly. I think it was like on a Nuggets radio show or something, and he said, winning covers up what you were kind of meant to do. And I want to bring up two things with that saying is the firing with Michael Malone. I think that Michael Malone, no matter what, was going to be fired after this season. But I think that the president of the Nuggets, he didn't believe in him so much that he was afraid, which this doesn't make any sense. He was afraid that if the Nuggets went on a run to like the Western Conference Finals or the finals and lost and then fired Michael Malone, that would make it a lot worse. So, which why that doesn't make sense is because, well, yeah, he just led his team to the finals and you fired him. So that's why this hiring, it just goes to show you really how much they were done with Michael Malone.
But
And maybe
it sounds
and
like it's an owner who doesn't care about winning. That's not his only thought. Like, if you're an owner and you're paying this much money for an NBA franchise, your only goal should be, I don't care how it gets done, but I want to win, as long as it's ethical, obviously. But
yeah,
I want to win.
if Calvin Booth, if only Calvin Booth was fired, then I would be totally fine with that because what he did this offseason, I get it. You did a phenomenal job bringing in Bruce Brown and KCP, but
And Aaron Gordon.
a- a- or no, the trade for Aaron Gordon was actually Tim Connolly. I believe so.
Are you
That
sure?
that was Tim Connolly because Calvin Booth was hired, or maybe that was Calvin Booth because Calvin Booth was hired after 2020. So I apologize. Brought in Aaron Gordon, but that is your main objective is to get the bench pieces needed because he came into with Jokic, Michael Porter Jr., and Jamal Murray. He didn't draft those guys. Like that is your job is to make sure that's the surrounding pieces. And I get every year's not going to be great, but yeah, man, it just sounds like maybe those guys bickered so much on how the roster needed to be constructed that maybe the president was just so tired of it that he felt like he needed new voices in there.
Maybe, but I
And
don't think. Here's my problem with the firing. Whatever coach you hire, I don't give a shit if it's Greg Popovich or Eric Spoelstra. They're not going to fix the deficiencies you're going to have when Nikola Jokic goes to the bench until you get a star. The only reason that players, there's a
well,
reason they stagger LeBron and Luka's minutes. There's a reason they stagger Jimmy and Steph's minutes. There's never a minute on the floor where neither of them are off. That is the
yeah,
Nuggets are the only team that you can have a 5 minute stretch where you don't have to worry about anybody
you're
offensively other than
right.
Jamal Murray. Like that
You're
is
right. One of the main things that Michael Malone tried when Jokic would go to the bench, because Jokic, the first starter to come out of the game is Jamal Murray. So Jamal Murray will come out of the bench, get his rest. That'll be like 5 minutes into the first quarter. Jokic will play the entire first quarter. And then at the very start of the second, it's the bench unit with Jamal Murray. And then maybe like Michael Porter Jr. in there. So Jamal Murray is supposed to lead that second unit to
and
start the
that's all
second
you
quarter.
can do as a coach.
Yes,
With that situation, that is the best you can do.
yes. The problem is, as much as I love Jamal Murray, I would take a bullet for that man. Jamal Murray is not a regular season player. He just isn't for whatever reason. His numbers are not bad, but there is a little bit when you watch him, there's like a lackadaisical kind of play with Jamal Murray. It's like there's not a desperation with Jamal Murray in the regular season, and it is very frustrating to watch at some points. Now, when the postseason comes around, that's not the case, and that's why it is frustrating because we'll get into the postseason, he'll play, and you'll see him go on this run, and you're like, where was this during the regular season? So that's kind of why. But you know,
Well,
uh, again, I hate the panic because the Nuggets still have a chance to get the 3 seed
yeah, they're not
in
in
the
the
Western
play-in.
Conference.
They're acting like
So,
with this firing, you would think they'd be fighting for a play-in spot.
oh yeah, and if we were fighting for a playing spot, I would totally get it.
It's a different
But
story, yeah.
yes, but we still have a really good shot at making as good as the Lakers have looked. I still like us if we were in a matchup against the Lakers. I still like the Nuggets to win that matchup in 7 games. I still do. And it's because the Nuggets have had a lot of postseason success. And I know they got Luka, but you got to think about it. They added Luka, but the Nuggets they've been sweeping the Lakers in the postseason. It's not like they added Luka to a team that's been going 7 games with the Nuggets. I mean, they've been walloping the Lakers. So I still like now in a series with the Thunder. Good luck with the way that the Nuggets have been playing right now. I mean, they have no bench, and I mean, other than Russell Westbrook, they get no scoring. They've been trying Zeke Naji. Zeke Naji's not the answer. Now they have been trying Jalen Pickett, and Jalen Pickett's been really nice as of late. But I haven't seen him in a postseason setting, so I don't know if that's really gonna happen.
Right. Yeah.
So, but another reason why I say is winning covers up a lot of things is I think you win the finals with Michael Porter Jr. again. I think maybe there's been a little bit of a, well, this is the team that got it done. They can get it done again. What did the Golden State Warriors do when they lost the finals? They traded Harrison Barnes, right? Or let him walk in free agency. They ended up getting Kevin Durant. The Warriors did not look at Harrison Barnes and go, well, we got to keep him. He helped us win. Like, and I think there's a good chance we're going to see that if the Nuggets don't at least make the finals this year.
Oh, and
I think
KD.
there's a good shot Michael Porter Jr. is gone, and then I mean, Kevin Durant, they could. Devin
How
Booker,
funny that'd be. Yeah.
Devin Booker, I mean, the Suns are imploding. Can you imagine getting Jokic, Devin Booker, and Jamal Murray with Aaron Gordon? I mean, and then a couple bench pieces, then you're right back in it. So I don't know how they make that work. I don't know what the contract situation looks like. I'm just throwing out names right now.
Right. Well, speaking of which, because I don't know if you saw the Suns GM talk the other day, but he claims that 26 out of the 32 teams that are in the NBA would take his roster, his picks, his whatever, as is. And I think it's the biggest crock of shit I've ever heard come out of a GM's mouth. The Suns are the only team, there's only like 5 or 6 teams in the NBA that don't make the play in, don't make the NBA playoffs, and don't make the lottery. You're stuck legit in the worst spot in the NBA, which is the right in between moment of we're in that 15 to 16 range. We didn't make the playoffs, but we didn't make the play in. Didn't make the draft lottery. Nobody would want that situation, and especially with what's about to happen with Kevin Durant, nobody's taking that out of that. So that is a bold-faced lie, just to try to get some assets from when he does have to self-implode the Suns, which is really sad because it was only a few years ago, like we talked about all the time, that they made it to the finals. But off of the Suns, one last thing before we talk about the playoffs. Luka played last night in Dallas for the first time. Did you watch it? Did you get to see it? And
I saw a little bit of it, and I mean, I stand by what I said about there's more behind it. I don't think I truly believe like the fans were yelling fire Nico. I truly believe Nico Harrison did not make this move because he thought it would make the Dallas Mavericks better. There's something going on, whether it's that gambling story that we saw about getting the casino and getting a new arena and trying to make the team bad to where the NBA owners will back something to help them out or however that works. But yeah, I don't believe it. I think Nico Harrison, the way that this season has gone, anybody who made that move as a GM should be fired, and he hasn't been. So
if
what is
if
that telling you?
Calvin Booth is getting fired, Nico Harrison should have been fired 3 years ago.
100%, a
And
hundred
Nico
percent.
Harrison had a good offseason or a good trade deadline last year. He brought in PJ Washington. He brought in Derek. He drafted Derek Lively. He brought in Daniel Gafford. He basically turned that team into a championship contending team, and then he imploded it within one trade.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
um,
you know the sad part is I hate that Mark Cuban is not the majority owner anymore. I still think he has a piece of the team, but
but it's nowhere.
I
It's crazy
guarantee
how as
you,
soon as he sells that team, not even 3 months later, they make that move. It's kind of
yeah,
insane.
I guarantee you, if Mark Cuban was the majority owner,
There's no shot that would have
Luca
happened.
would not be. I mean, he loves the Mavericks. He's still sitting courtside. There was even a video of him while they were the fans were yelling "Fire Nico." He just was looking down at the floor, shaking his head and
I
probably
mean,
in disbelief.
I watched the pregame, and I've never seen a Luka emotional like that. The guy never wanted to leave Dallas. He was never going to leave. He was going to be a Dirk Nowitzki 2.0 for
Yeah,
Dallas. I mean, maybe he wouldn't have won, but he'd been a Maverick for life. He literally said last night in the interview, he goes, I'm happy I get to sleep in my bed because he still hasn't fucking moved his stuff from Dallas to LA. So, like, malpractice has been put in front of us, and somebody should
yeah.
be fired slash sued. Um, if I was a Mavericks manager, I think I would. I don't know what I would do if I was a fan of the Mavericks. It would really. I can't imagine what they're going through. They'd be like the Warriors trading Steph Curry after 2014, like right before the second you win a finals, they trade your best player and your entire future is gone. It's insane, but
Yeah.
the NBA playoff
Also
picture.
too, I hate the NBA uh Discord and just fans in general sometimes. And but I get it. Anytime there's a player like the amount of Nikola Jokic stuff where I've seen where oh, he's going to ask out of Denver or there's going to be a trade.
You
I,
mean
I
delusional
think,
Laker fans?
and it might be the fan in me, I think it is ridiculous. Nikola Jokic is not getting traded. I can guarantee you that. And Jokic is not the guy to ask for a trade. He just isn't. And I always bring it up. Jokic, and you only know this if you're a Nuggets fan. He said this 5 years ago that he wants to be. It's actually in my World Championship book that's sitting in the corner by my TV over there, I believe. Nikola Jokic said he wants to be the Tim Duncan of the Denver Nuggets. Wants to be the Tim Duncan of the Denver Nuggets. So all this stuff, and you know who I've seen it from, and I will say this and not apologize. I hate Lakers fans. I hate them with a passion because I've seen Jokic to the Lakers and a bunch of trades with them, and they have been uh, going after Michael Malone on Twitter. I hate them because they are the most petty fans in the world. And the reason why I hate them is because I had to grow up Kobe Bryant, uh, not really Shaq, but Kobe Bryant beating my Carmelo Anthony Denver Nuggets every year in the postseason. Lakers fans get whatever they want. And then the Nuggets finally get to where they're beating the Lakers. And then the Lakers want to cry about how the Nuggets fans are getting on the Lakers fans. And it it makes me so, oh my gosh, it's infuriating.
Well, they're
I
they're most
hate
hypocritical
Lakers
fans
fans.
in any sport. Like they're worse than Yankee fans. They are worse than Dallas Cowboy fans. They're literally the worst fans that you can. Everybody's got a
Yes, will
friend
not
that's a Lakers
apologize. I'm
fan.
sorry if you are a Lakers fan. Now, I respect you that it
They know
like
they are though.
oh
We
they're
have
the
a
worst.
Lakers fan. We know a Lakers fan, and he's the worst. But
Yeah,
here's the thing: those Lakers fans. He's also a Ohio State football fan, a Kentucky basketball fan, a
all right,
Philadelphia
don't call
Phillies
him
fan.
out. Don't call him out
I mean,
like
what are we doing here? We got the most. He's an LA Dodgers fan. Like those are the types of fans that LA Lakers fans are. So,
I don't want to call him out because I also, I mean, I like the Steelers and the Red Sox and
there's a difference between the Dodgers, the Dodgers, the Phillies, which is two MLB teams, by the way. The Lakers, the Ohio State. You like Oregon. You don't like Oregon football and Duke basketball. Like that's insane.
yeah.
You can't just pick and choose a college
Yeah,
based off
you're
the
right.
sport.
You're right. I do follow like yeah, Oregon. If I'm watching Oregon football,
It's Oregon. It's Oregon
Oregon
everything.
basketball next. Yeah,
However, the main point is Lakers fans suck, and they are somehow right now. If the playoffs were to start today, they are the 3 seed. They just won last night. The Nuggets would be a 4 seed. All right, Thunder 1, Rockets 2, which they have rebounded after. It looked like they were in the middle of the season about to slip away. They have made their little comeback to a 2 seed, and it looks like they're going to lock that up pretty soon if they haven't already. Which there's 5 days left in the season, and they are 3 games above the Lakers in that spot. So most likely you're going to see a Rockets 2 seed. Rockets back at home in the playoffs would be interesting, especially with this young team. Lakers 3, Nuggets 4, Clippers 5, which I think would be the best matchup if I was a Nuggets fan that I would want. Grizzlies 6, Warriors dropped down to 7 after self-imploding last night and letting Harrison Barnes hit a game-winning 3. The Spurs beat the Warriors, and the Warriors went from the 4 seed or 5 seed to the 7 seed, and now they're in the play-in game. Against the Timberwolves would be the 8 seed, and the Kings and Mavericks would be that 9-10 game. All that to say, it is a dogfight. Like, the Warriors could end up being a 3 seed in 5 days if craziness happens and the Lakers lose out and the Warriors win out. Like, that's how close this race is. I don't think I've ever seen one this bad, and I know you hate the play-in, but it makes you realize, like, there's a reason that the Western Conference needs to play in. The Eastern Conference, I couldn't care less about the Bulls making the play in every year. However, the West, like, the difference between the Timberwolves being an 8 seed with 46 wins and the Lakers being a 3 seed with 49 wins is astronomical. Like, it's crazy. The Timberwolves are two games back of being a 4 seed, and they're the 8 seed. Like, that's 4 spots with 5 days left in the season. It's unheard of.
Yeah, the play-in actually might be like this is kind of the first year of it where, yeah, it might kind of be it might be intriguing a little bit for me, just because of all those instances.
Now, we say
Um,
all that. If the playoffs were to end the day, it'd be the Warriors Timberwolves, and then the 9 seed is the Kings at 39 wins. So the play-in still doesn't make sense, because the Kings and Mavericks shouldn't be in the playoffs, and
no,
that would be the only reason they're in because of the play-in. So, um, but it turns it into pretty much a mini March
yeah,
Madness
well,
in April.
that's my gripe about it. The Nuggets played the Kings last night without Jamal Murray, and it wasn't even really a close game. So, if you're the Kings with DeRozan, Sabonis, and Zach LaVine, and you cannot keep it close with a Jamal Murray less Nuggets in like a must-win game at home, then I mean that I've seen it all pretty much from Sacramento, but. I think the most important thing to look out for in the West is that 3 seed. Is it going to be the Lakers, the Nuggets? Because I think whoever gets that 3 seed will go to the conference finals because you're avoiding the Thunder. And I like them to get past the first round. And I like them if they have to play the Rockets. I like whoever that 3 seed is, if it's the Lakers or it's the Nuggets. So that's why, like, for those two teams, these last two games are extremely important for those two teams.
And they are. And my next question to that would be: are we disrespecting the Rockets too much? Like, Ime Udoka is a proven coach. Obviously, he had a falling out with the Celtics after the allegations that he had, but he is a good coach. They are a young team. Yes, they've really never been there. They've never done it. But they do have some veteran experience. They have Steven Adams on that team. They have Dylan Brooks on that team. They've got guys who at least can try to show you the way. They can't really take over a game. Who knows what Jalen Green is going to be in the playoffs? Who knows what Sengun can do in the playoffs with the physicality? But they are a physical team, so I think they could match the level of whoever they play against. It's just whether or not that they have the experience to outlast either the Lakers or the Nuggets at this
No,
situation.
I don't think we're disrespecting them. I mean, they haven't been to the playoffs yet, so I think it's fair. Yeah, they have some good pieces, but you got to show up because if they lose in the first round, then it's like, what was the point of giving them all this praise? So no, I think past the first round definitely, but I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna. I still like the Lakers, the Nuggets to beat them in that second round matchup potentially.
Well, and that's assuming they get past either, I mean, as of right now, the Warriors or the Timberwolves. Because
Oh yeah,
whoever, I mean, the Timberwolves, if they win that game, they play the Rockets, and the loser has to go play the Kings or Mavericks to see who plays the Thunder. So, like, that first play-in game, that 7-8 game, is massive for whoever wins that, whether you're a Timberwolves fan or a Warriors fan, because that's the difference between you playing the Rockets team that hasn't been there or a Thunder team who looks like they can steamroll anybody. So, you know, that 7-8 game could be the most important playing game for anybody.
I would love to see the Warriors play the Rockets.
It'd be fun. A little Dylan Brooks, Draymond Green action. Who doesn't love that?
Well, I just think like that'd be a great test for them because I do think the Warriors could definitely win that series.
They would have a shot. It depends on how physical they allow people to be. Because as Steph has gotten older, physicality seems to affect him more than it used to. He's always been a small guard, but now it seems to really throw off the rhythm of the game. Um, but I tell you what, last thing here, we'll wrap up because the playoffs are starting soon. By this time next week, we'll have an early episode. That way we can wrap up the plan and then really get some playoff predictions. But Brandon Pajemski has kind of come back to the player he was last year, and it's about time. We were dogging him at the beginning of the season. Even throughout the middle of the season, he was awful. But there's a reason they didn't trade Lauri Markkinen for Pods, and this is the reason why. But I guess he's finally starting to show up ever since Jimmy Butler has arrived. So that's been good for the Warriors. Hopefully they'll keep it going, and we'll see a good series if they make it out of the
Honestly,
play-in.
I like the Warriors. Like, if we get to our playoff predictions next week, I might, depending on what seed they get.
Yeah, that's a big thing. That's a big question. You almost prefer the 7 seed and just play the play-in instead of getting a 6 seed to go see the Thunder. But
You
obviously,
know what I think the Warriors would love is I don't know if this could happen. I think it can though. If the Warriors were to get like the 6th seed and the Clippers fell into that 3 spot, because then if you're the Warriors, you get first round matchup with the Clippers, which I definitely think they can win, and then you could face the Rockets in the second round.
yeah,
And I mean, there is a legitimate shot
yeah.
to the conference finals.
Well, these next 5 days are going to be instrumental to how we pick our playoff predictions. But we will get to that next week. In about 5 days, the play-in will happen. We'll wait till the play-in starts, figure out what's actually going to happen for this playoff bracket, and maybe we'll do it before then. But just to see, because it could get interesting down the stretch here for the Western Conference at least. But we will do that next week. Anything else from you, Hargrove?
No, that's it. Good show.
All right. Always. And until next time.